Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, who is that? Not in a dramatic, midlife crisis kind of way, but just in that quiet, honest moment. Like, when did I start doubting myself so much? When did I go from feeling like I had a grip on things to second-guessing nearly every decision I make? It's a strange thing, isn't it? You hit your 40s thinking you'd feel more secure, more together. You've got life experience, you've weathered storms, maybe built a family, maybe climbed the career ladder or changed it completely, and yet, out of nowhere, your confidence feels like it's slowly leaking out, drop by drop. If that's been your experience lately, you're not alone. And no, there's nothing wrong with you. What you're going through is way more common than most people admit. Confidence doesn't always decline with age, but for many people between 35 and 50, life just gets loud. You're juggling work, maybe kids, aging parents, your own health, finances, friendships, and somewhere in the middle of all that, it's easy to lose sight of who you are. Or to feel like you're no longer the sharp, capable version of yourself you once were. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 fast, practical ways to rebuild your self-worth and spark that inner motivation again. These aren't just think positive fluff pieces, and they won't require you to radically change your life. But they will help you reconnect with the version of yourself you've been missing. So let's start with something subtle, but powerful. The way you talk to yourself. It might sound too simple, but your inner dialogue has real power. Think about it. If a friend made a mistake and you immediately said, "Wow, you really screwed that up," that relationship would go south pretty fast, right? But how often do we speak to ourselves like that? Quietly, in the background, with every small misstep. "I should have known better. Why did I say that? I can't believe I let this happen again." That internal voice becomes the lens through which we see our entire life. And over time, if that voice is critical, dismissive, or full of shame, it erodes your sense of value without you even noticing. The fix? Start treating yourself the way you treat someone you care about. Next time you catch yourself slipping into self-criticism, pause. Ask yourself, would I say this to a friend who's doing their best? And if not, reframe it. I messed that up, but I'm learning. Or, that didn't go how I wanted, but I still showed up. It's not about sugarcoating reality. It's about practicing self-respect, even in moments that feel like failure. That small change in language builds emotional resilience. And when you start to feel like you've got your own back, no matter what, you begin to rebuild trust in yourself. And that is the foundation of confidence. Now, let's talk about something a little more tangible, how you start your day. Because here's the thing, most of us wake up and immediately hand over our brain to chaos. The phone lights up. Emails. News alerts. Texts. Social media. From the second we open our eyes, we're reacting. And by the time we've had our first cup of coffee, we're already behind, already overwhelmed, already feeling like the day is running us, not the other way around. But confidence thrives in structure. It grows when we feel in control, even if it's just for the first 15 minutes of our morning. So here's a challenge. Before you check your phone, before you open your inbox, take 10 minutes for you. No one else. Just you. That could look like sitting quietly with your coffee and breathing. It could be journaling a few thoughts, writing one thing you're grateful for, or even stepping outside for a few minutes to get sunlight on your face. The content of the ritual doesn't matter as much as the message behind it. I matter. My day starts on my terms. I get to set the tone. It's not just about mindfulness. It's about reclaiming authority over your life. And when you do that consistently, even in tiny doses, you start to shift from feeling like life is something that happens to you, to feeling like you're driving the car again. And here's the magic of it. Once you start your morning with intention, the rest of the day feels a little less chaotic. You make better choices, you respond instead of react, and bit by bit, you start showing up with more clarity, more calm, and yes, more confidence. Let's go one step deeper, because sometimes it's not the day we're overwhelmed by. Sometimes, it's the big picture. The feeling that we're stuck. Like we're not growing, not moving forward, like life has turned into a series of obligations with very little spark. And you know what? That feeling can crush motivation fast. So here's something to consider. When was the last time you did something new? Not dramatic, not life-changing, just new. Something you've never tried. A new recipe. A hike you've never taken. A class. A book outside your usual genre. A conversation with someone different from you. We're wired for growth. And after 40, it's easy to fall into routines that are comforting, but not necessarily nourishing. Trying new things reignites curiosity, and curiosity is a backdoor to confidence. Because when you challenge yourself, even in small ways, you're reminded that you're still capable of learning, evolving, expanding. And when you succeed at something, even something as simple as assembling a piece of furniture, learning to play a song on guitar, or finally trying that yoga class, you create proof. Proof that you're still growing. Still alive. Still you. And that kind of proof builds momentum. It wakes up the parts of your brain that have been half asleep from repetition. It helps you remember that you're not stuck, you're just understimulated. And that's something you can change, starting today. So whether it's changing how you talk to yourself, reclaiming your mornings, or stepping outside your routine, these small actions stack up. They begin to shift how you feel about yourself, not in some overnight, dramatic way, but gradually, in a way that sticks. Let's keep that energy going. Because once we've started moving forward, the next few steps get a whole lot easier. ChatGPT de NOI. And here's the beautiful thing, once you take even the smallest step forward, your brain starts to catch on. It begins to say, oh, we're doing this now? We're not stuck. We're actually trying? And that whisper, over time, becomes a voice. One that says, I've got this. Not because everything's perfect, but because you're finally showing up for yourself again. But let's talk about something that quietly drains confidence for so many people in midlife: comparison. It creeps in when you're scrolling through social media, or catching up with old friends, or even just looking around your office. You see someone who seems to be crushing it. Maybe they just launched a new business, or they're traveling the world, or they look 10 years younger than you, and suddenly, you start to feel smaller. It happens fast. 1 minute you're fine, and the next, you're doubting everything from your job to your haircut. And listen, this isn't about blaming yourself. It's human. We compare. It's how we learn and orient ourselves in the world. But the problem comes when we mistake someone else's highlight reel for our reality. You're seeing one tiny sliver of someone's life, carefully filtered and curated, and measuring it against your full, unfiltered day-to-day. But if we're being honest, you're probably more equipped now than you've ever been. You've got experience. You've been knocked down and gotten back up more times than you can count. And deep down, you've learned what actually matters, and what doesn't. That wisdom? That's gold. And when you pair it with a little bit of intention, some compassion for yourself, and the courage to try again, that's when real confidence comes roaring back. Let's talk about something that ties all of this together: purpose. I don't mean the big, grand, change the world kind of purpose. I mean the personal, everyday kind. The kind that gets you out of bed in the morning with a sense of why. Because when that goes missing, even the smallest tasks feel heavy. You start wondering, what's the point of any of this? And that kind of existential fog can sneak up slowly. Maybe your kids are getting older and need you less. Maybe your job is just a job. Maybe the things that used to excite you don't light you up anymore. That's normal. It doesn't mean you're broken, it means it's time for a reset. So, how do you find that spark again? Start by getting curious. Ask yourself, what do I miss? What used to bring me joy before life got so busy and serious? Was it painting? Was it writing? Hiking? Volunteering? Was it connecting with people in a way that felt real, not just polite small talk in passing? Think back to a time when you felt most you. Not productive. Not impressive. Just real. What were you doing? Who were you with? Where were you? That's not just nostalgia. That's a breadcrumb trail back to your sense of purpose. You don't need to quit your job or move across the country. You don't need to launch a nonprofit or write a best-selling book. Purpose can be quiet. It can look like helping a neighbor, mentoring someone younger than you, learning to play piano because it always made you smile. The point isn't what you do. The point is that you're doing something that reminds you, I'm still alive. I'm still growing. I still matter. When you engage with the world from that place, your energy shifts. People notice. You feel lighter, more open, more magnetic. That's when opportunities come, not because you're chasing them, but because you're becoming someone who naturally attracts them. And here's the beautiful part, when you start feeling better about yourself, when your confidence starts to rebuild, motivation begins to follow. It doesn't have to be forced. You don't need to push through or white-knuckle your way to productivity. You just want to do more because you feel capable again. That shift, from forcing yourself to function, to actually wanting to show up, that's everything. Of course, it's not always a straight path. There will be days when you backslide. When self-doubt creeps in. When nothing goes according to plan. And in those moments, it's easy to tell yourself, see? I knew it wouldn't last. I knew I'd fall off again. But those moments don't erase your progress. They're part of it. Every time you come back to yourself, every time you dust yourself off and take one small step forward, you're building trust. You're proving to yourself that you don't need to be perfect, you just need to be present. You're human. You're evolving. And you're more resilient than you think. So don't wait for permission. Don't wait to feel ready. Confidence isn't something you magically wake up with one day. It's built slowly and steadily through tiny decisions, quiet victories, and a whole lot of self-kindness along the way. Right now, as you're listening to this, you have a choice. You can keep going through the motions, waiting for the spark to return on its own, or you can decide to be the spark. You don't need a 5-year plan. You don't need the perfect roadmap. You just need to say, I'm not done yet. There's more in me. And then, take one step in that direction. However small. However uncertain. That's how you build momentum. That's how you come back to life. Because confidence after 40? It's not gone. It's just waiting for you to remember who the hell you are. Let's keep going. There's one more piece of this puzzle that pulls it all together, and once it clicks, it changes everything. And here's where it all comes full circle. Because even with the right mindset, even with better habits, even when you start showing up for yourself again, there's still one thing that can quietly sabotage it all: isolation. This one's sneaky. You might not even realize it's happening. Life gets busy, priorities shift, and suddenly, the deep connections that used to ground you start fading into the background. Maybe you haven't had a real, soul-nourishing conversation in weeks. Maybe you've got people around you all the time, but still feel completely alone. That quiet kind of disconnection eats away at your self-worth more than most people realize. We are wired for connection. We don't just want to be seen, we need it. And not just for social fun or companionship. Being around people who reflect back your strengths, your humanity, your value, that's one of the fastest ways to rebuild confidence. Because sometimes, when you can't see your own light, someone else has to hold up the mirror for you. So if you've been in your own little bubble, convincing yourself that you're fine, maybe it's time to reach out. Call that friend who really gets you. Not for a catch-up, not for small talk, just to say, hey, I've been in my head lately, and I miss real connection. You'd be surprised how many people feel the same way. And if your circle's gotten smaller over the years, which happens to a lot of us, maybe it's time to gently expand it. Not with the goal of impressing or networking or proving anything. Just with the intention of being seen. Of finding your people, again. That could mean joining a class, a book club, a volunteer group. Or even just starting conversations with people who seem interesting. Because here's the truth, being around the right people can completely change the way you see yourself. You don't need a crowd. Just a few people who remind you of your worth, who celebrate your growth, who challenge you when you start shrinking again. People who've known you long enough to say, "Hey, don't forget, you've come a long way." Or new people who meet you where you are now and see the version of you that's still unfolding. Confidence grows in community. Not because someone else gives it to you, but because they help you remember it. They reflect it back when you've forgotten. So if you've been feeling invisible, like you're just going through the motions, don't ignore that. That's not your fault. That's just your heart saying, "Hey, I need a little more connection. A little more meaning. A little more life." And you know what? That doesn't make you needy. That makes you human. When you combine everything we've talked about, the self-kindness, the intentional mornings, the small acts of courage, the curiosity, the purpose, and the people, it becomes something powerful. It's not just a confidence boost. It's a realignment with who you are and who you've always been underneath the stress, the distractions, the burnout. You don't need to chase your old self. You're not trying to rewind the clock. You're creating a new version of yourself, built on experience, insight, resilience, and a whole lot of grace. And the best part? You don't have to have it all figured out to start. You don't have to wait until you feel confident to take action. You build it brick by brick, moment by moment. You get up in the morning and say, "I matter enough to try." That's it. That's the first step. So if you've been feeling lost, low, like your spark is fading, I want you to know, this isn't the end of your story. You still have so much ahead of you. Joy, growth, passion, breakthroughs, new adventures you haven't even imagined yet. But none of that happens if you keep waiting for a perfect time or a perfect version of you to appear. Start where you are. With the messy thoughts. With the tired eyes. With the heart that wants more but isn't sure how to ask for it. Start now. You don't need to overhaul your life, you just need to take the first small step today. Maybe that's going for a walk. Maybe it's texting a friend. Maybe it's sitting quietly with your coffee and deciding not to criticize yourself this morning. Whatever it is, do it as an act of self-respect. Not because you have to fix yourself, but because you deserve to feel good in your own skin. To believe in your own voice. To wake up and want to be you. So if this message stirred something in you, if even one part of this made you pause and think, "Yeah, that's exactly what I needed to hear," then do me a favor, don't just click away and forget. Let it land. Let it stick. Let this be the moment you decided to reclaim your confidence, not with noise or perfection, but with truth, with heart, with quiet strength. And hey, if this spoke to you, share it. Someone you love might need this message too. Leave a comment if you've ever felt like your confidence took a hit after 40. Or if you found ways to rebuild it, tell us what helped. We're not alone in this, and hearing from you could be exactly what someone else needs today. Like the video, subscribe if you want more content like this, and most importantly, be gentle with yourself. Here's to living stronger, smarter, and happier, no matter the number on your ID. You've got this. And you're just getting started. And truly, just getting started isn't just a feel-good phrase. It's real. You may be older, yes. But that doesn't mean the chapters ahead are any less rich, any less meaningful, or any less yours. In fact, this season of life, it can be one of the most powerful yet. Not because everything is easy, but because now you know more. You've fallen down. You've gotten back up. You've seen enough to know what matters, and maybe more importantly, what doesn't. And that kind of clarity? That's a superpower. So, if you're still wondering whether it's too late to build back your confidence, whether you can really find that inner drive again, whether you can wake up and feel excited about your life instead of just trudging through it, the answer is yes. Yes. 1,000 times, yes. The world doesn't need a perfect version of you. It needs the real version. The one who's learning to trust themselves again. The one who doesn't have all the answers, but keeps showing up anyway. The one who's figuring it out, one small, brave choice at a time. And hey, confidence? It's not a switch. It's a rhythm. Some days it's there. Some days it hides. But the more you take action in the direction of who you want to be, the more often it shows up. Until one day, you're not even thinking about confidence anymore, you're just being. You're just living from that place. Grounded. Clear. Alive. You're not too old. You're not behind. You're not broken. You are in motion. You are growing. And your story is still unfolding, page by page, breath by breath. So take this moment. Not to pressure yourself, but to promise yourself, I will not give up on me. No matter how long it's been. No matter how tired I feel. No matter how far off track I think I am, I will come back. I will be kind to myself. I will rebuild and reimagine and re-engage with my own life. Because I deserve that. I deserve to feel confident again. Motivated again. Me again. And if no one else has told you this today, let me be the one to say it. You're doing better than you think. You're not invisible. You're not falling behind. You are valuable. You are needed. And you have so much to offer. Thanks for being here. For giving yourself the time and space to even listen to something like this. That, in itself, is a small act of love. And every small act adds up. If this video gave you something, some clarity, some hope, even just a tiny push forward, please let me know. I read your comments, and they matter to me. You matter. Until next time, be good to yourself. Be patient with your process. And remember, confidence isn't about being fearless. It's about remembering you're worth the fight. Even when things feel hard. Especially then. Take care of you. And I'll see you soon. And while we're here, let's take a breath together. Just one. In and out. Because that's all this journey really is, one breath, one choice, one small shift at a time. You don't have to go from feeling stuck to unstoppable overnight. In fact, trying to do that often backfires. Real, lasting confidence? It's quiet. It's steady. It comes from showing up for yourself on the days you least feel like it. That morning when everything feels heavy, but you still get out of bed and stretch. That evening when you want to shut down, but you text a friend instead. That moment when your inner critic starts talking, and instead of believing it, you pause and say, not today. Those are the moments that change everything, not the big speeches, not the social media highlight reels. Just you, doing the hard thing gently, again and again. You might not feel it right away, but every one of those choices adds weight to the scale in your favor. It's like drops filling a bucket. At first it seems slow, pointless even, until one day, you realize you're standing taller. You're moving through the world with more ease. You're trusting yourself again. And you know what else? The more you build yourself up, the more you lift others with you. That's the beauty of it. When you start believing in your own worth again, you naturally start giving others permission to believe in theirs. Whether it's your kids watching you show resilience instead of self-doubt, your partner seeing you more present and alive, or a friend who hears the shift in your voice and thinks, maybe I can turn things around too. You become the example. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Because you're living the truth that confidence after 40 isn't only possible, it's powerful. It's richer, deeper, and more rooted than the confidence you might have felt at 20. Back then, maybe it came from achievements or looks or chasing approval. But now, it comes from wisdom. From showing up. From knowing what it means to fall and still choose to rise. So keep choosing it. Keep choosing you. And if you ever catch yourself slipping back into that old narrative, I'm too late, I've missed my chance, what's the point? Come back to this. Rewatch this. Reground yourself. Because sometimes we don't need new advice, we just need to remember what we already know deep down. You were never meant to stay stuck. You were never meant to fade quietly into the background. You are here to evolve, to reconnect, to reclaim the parts of yourself that got buried under responsibilities, expectations, and fear. Let those parts breathe again. Let yourself dream again. Let yourself want again. And when in doubt, start small. A walk. A deep breath. A real conversation. A glass of water. A journal page. A song that makes you feel something. A tiny act of rebellion against apathy. Because each one is a vote for the version of you you're becoming. You don't have to shout. You don't have to announce it to the world. Just live it. Quietly. Confidently. Day by day. I hope you'll stick around. We've got more conversations like this to come. Ones that dig into the real stuff, energy, purpose, clarity, and creating a life that actually feels good to wake up to. But for now, just take this in. Let it settle. Let it plant a seed. You're not broken. You're not done. You're just beginning again, with more strength, more soul, and more to give than ever before. And from where I'm sitting, that's something to be proud of. See you next time. And until then, take care of yourself, walk with your head high, and remember, there is always a way forward.